What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls commentary. Alright, now this is part 2 of the Battle of the Build series. Part 1 featured triple a Pyromancer, and this is another Pyromancer, but this will be demonstrated by a good old short dude. And actually, none of these guys kind of knew what I was doing. Right? Just so happened it was one night where I just so happened to fight both of them, and both of them just so happened to be pyromancy builds. Right? So this is actually not a planned thing. I didn't say, hey dude, I just want to bounce some ideas off you. No. This is just how it turned out. Right? This is the result. Now, one good thing about having to play both of these guys in the same night, I get a chance to observe different fighting styles, both offensive and defensive fighting styles, and you guys can notice it for yourself. One thing that you'll see is good old Triple. He's pretty much, I don't want to say a pure caster, but he is definitely take advantage of the castings of the Pyromancer. Good old short dude, on the other hand, his bread and butter is pretty much the parries. So since that is pretty much what he is good at, you will notice that he attempts a lot of parries, and obviously he's effective. Now, with regard to the Pyromancer build, I don't know. In some cases, it felt like Triple was more of a threat, mainly because of the amount of casting he did. Right now, I'm not saying that he was spamming, but I'm just saying to the extent that he was fully taking advantage of the Pyromancer, I think Triple really did a good job. Now, that is not to say that good old short dude was not equally dangerous, right? Because since he is good at the pairing, I really have to make sure that I'm timing my attacks, and I'm kind of watching his moving and attacking based upon his movements. Because one thing with him, you cannot spam attacks. And in some cases, you really have to try to be as unpredictable as possible. Should you try to spam an attack, in most cases, he will parry it. So, with regard to comparing both of them, I would just say that they are equally dangerous, just with two different fighting styles. Alright. So this is my Cleric build. Now, you guys will notice that in most cases, actually in all of the cases, my weapons will be either occult or divine weapons. And that is because I have the minimum stats for strength and dexterity, which are, I think for this build, just 16 and 12. And that is mainly because I have 50 faith. Right, so I'm getting all of my benefit from the miracles and the 50 faith. Right. So you guys will notice that I will not be using any plus 15 weapons for this build. Now, that is not to say that in random PvP or invasions or whatever, I would not be using plus 15 weapons, because one good thing about the faith build, you have the option to use the Blade of the Dark Moon buff, in addition to the Sunlight Blade buff. Right. So in one of those instances, I would probably go ahead and use a divine or occult weapon, and as a secondary, use a plus 15 weapon once the buff wears out. Alright, so that's a good demonstration on how dangerous those pyromancies are. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and use the Blessed Mace. Now, in addition to having the Battle of the Builds, I'm kind of going to experiment with some weapons that I don't ordinarily use. So this is actually, some of these, actually a lot of these matches are just kind of like a weapon showcase, or kind of like an experimentation for myself. Because I mean, who really uses the Blessed Mace? I mean, I don't. In my PvP matches and random invasions, I rarely see anyone pull out one of those. Right, so I'm just kind of, you know, testing the weapon for myself. Right. Really have to make sure you dodge those pyromancies, especially the chaos pyromancies, because unlike the regular pyromancies, they will have remnants of, I don't know, the chaos flame or the lava, whatever you want to call it, still on the ground. So even if you say, okay, well, the cast is over, I can go ahead and attack, and no, you can't, because you can still receive damage from the remnants of the cast. Alright. Thing about that dude is, every single time he runs in, I should know what he's going to do, but I don't know, something just in me is kind of like attack. Other times, when I see him approaching, I mean, it's just a matter of a slip of the butt, right? Because, I mean, there's times where I'm trying to attempt to swing, or attempt to kick rather, and I'm swinging. You know, maybe I'm just not hitting the forward button fast enough, or at the correct time. Alright, 654. That's one of the benefits to having 50 faith. Right, because 654, that'll tighten up anybody. Alright. Nice. Very nice. Now, there are a lot of builds out there. Now, me personally, I think I have about 8 builds. Now, I don't have the builds right in front of me, but I know I have an invisible thief. I have a pyromancy character that I use. I have the pure cleric. I have the battle mage or battle caster, the faith mage, whatever you want to call it. I have a dexterity faith build, right? So I can buff up those katanas. And I have a warrior build, which basically uses all plus 15 weapons. Oh, and I also have a strength build. I think that's 8. I can't remember. I actually might be forgetting one of the builds that I have. So, you know, in some of my future Battle of the Build videos, I will feature a lot of those. Alright, so you guys can just see some of my builds. Now, in the event that I'm kind of out somewhere and maybe somebody may message me and let's say they have a hotshot build and they want to showcase it, maybe I'll even do one of those every now and then. Alright, because the Battle of the Builds is not just a showcase of the builds that I have, but it is also a showcase of some of the builds that are out there. I know on some of those, you know, forums, they have like some build ideas. And actually, I think the Battle of the Build series would be a good idea to showcase them. One reason that I say that is, you know, you kind of have guys on YouTube, you know, they'll show you their build, but they won't show you it in action, right? I mean, they may show you the stats, they may show you the armor, and, you know, they may give you kind of like a speech as to the pros and cons. But to see those pros and cons in action, I think that's kind of better for the Dark Souls players to see, right? So I don't know. Maybe some of you guys may check out some of those builds on the forums and maybe you want to test it. You know, just kind of give me a message and, you know, I'll do the research before I agree to do a Battle of the Build series. And, you know, if the build seemed like a hotshot build, hey, we could do a Battle of the Build series. Right? Alright. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Because that's one thing that we definitely would like to do, which would be helpful to everybody. Showcase some of these builds. I hate that. Alright, and we're back at it. Now, this is definitely a weapon that I never use. Right? But this is kind of why I'm experimenting. You never know. I mean, after kind of experimenting with it a little bit, maybe I may decide that, you know what, maybe that weapon is not too bad. Because a lot of us, I think we kind of get caught up into the katanas, the great swords, and the rapiers, and we actually forget that there's still a lot of weapons out there. You know, there's a lot of spears, there's scythes out there. There's really a lot of, I mean, you got guys like good old Pet Peruvian. I mean, he's pretty handy with the bows, right? So, I don't know, I'm kind of experimenting with the creativity, trying to see what's out there. I hate that. Alright, back at it. I think I'm going to go ahead and try with this weapon again. Alright. Give him a swift kick. And those backward forward lunge thrusts that you can do with those katanas are very effective. I think it's pretty easy to catch people up with those. Alright. So it looks like he's kind of going in. Well, he's not going in for anything now. Alright, now this is definitely a weapon I have never used, the halberd. And actually I've noticed a lot of people use them. And you know, I don't know, this weapon kind of sucks to me. It just seems too slow to mess with. And actually right there, I really don't know what happened. But at least I didn't get parried. So that's all that matters. He almost got me with the backstab there. This is definitely something new that I'm doing. Because I have never used a halberd. And actually, I wish a lot of these weapons had the same moveset as they did in Demon Souls. He almost got me with the parry there. Oh, he got me. He almost missed it. Nice. Now, for that move right there, that's one thing that I'm trying to stay conscious of. A lot of guys make the mistake of once you're on the ground, may it be with a parry or a backstab, they kind of make the mistake of standing like right behind you or right in front of you. To a guy who's pretty proficient in that move, and actually I'm getting better at it because I've been practicing it a lot, because I notice that a lot of people do that. You'll, you know, kind of be on the ground and they'll just kind of stand behind you. So I'm actually able to get a lot of practice with doing that. One thing that I am learning is that depending upon who my opponent is, once they are on the ground, to just back up, right? Because when you back up, they cannot do that move on you, especially in the Undead Burg. I mean, my last couple of experiences there, it just seemed like that's what everybody's trying to do. I mean, it's kind of like everybody's trying to roll BS. You know, all other tactics, all the other swinging and other techniques that people used to use are non-existent. It was kind of ridiculous. That's all they did. I mean, it was like 10 fights that I was involved in. Like 8 of 10 of them tried to roll BS the whole match. Alright, so I don't know. And that's not even that's not even using the technique that I was talking about of standing right behind your opponent. I mean just circling me and waiting until I swing. You know, so it is what it is. Technique used, sometime abused. Alright. So I'm using the battle axe. Got parried with it. Another wild action type of weapon. Got him again. You see that? Made the mistake of standing too close to me. And he actually got me again, which would have been awesome. Nice. Very nice. Alright guys, this is pretty much the end of the series, the two-part series titled Battle of the Builds. For a lot of you subscribers, I hope you guys can, draft some pretty cool builds out there, and maybe we can test them for a future video series. I think it'll be awesome, not only for the purposes of having a video to upload, but also for everybody, right? Because that's what this channel is all about, right? And this is why I don't kind of put my own ideas on everybody. This is for everybody to enjoy, right? Alright guys, this is pretty much the end of it. I hope you enjoy Martyr's Brigade